Hello boys and girls, and a warm welcome along to today's United Kingdom talk. And we are back off holiday, okay? However, the next three or so programmes will be coming to you from Australia. Now, it sounds a bit noisy. If you are watching the show on YouTube, you'll be able to tell why. Of course, if you're only listening, you're thinking, what on earth is all this noise going on around me today? That is because I'm sitting perched. I'm perched, boys and girls, perched on a roundabout and in the middle of a road, which may not sound like a good idea, but the point is, it was fairly quiet when I got here. Since I switched the record button, alarms are going off, buses are coming round the roundabout, people are all over the place, but it all adds to the atmosphere, doesn't it? As I say, if you're listening to the show, let me paint the picture once again. I'm sitting on a roundabout in the middle of a road, right in front of the Sydney Harbour Bridge. That's where I am today. And as I say, if you're watching it, you'll be able to see the very long bridge behind me. And you can actually climb up that. I mean, why anyone would want to climb that high is beyond me. I never understand these people that want to climb up Mount Everest. I mean, what's it all like? You could fall down, dear. There are actually trips here, and I'm in Sydney, there are actually trips here in Sydney that will take you up the bridge and you can climb to the very top. Not for me, I'm afraid. Definitely one who's afraid of heights. What about you? Eh? There's an email address in the show. If you want to join in at any time, please feel free to do so. My email address is chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. Now, just before I left, a couple of things I was going to tell you about in the UK. Now, we are, of course, now going back to the middle of January. I left to come to Australia on the 14th of January. I am back now. But as I say, the next few programmes have been recorded kind of on, should we say, on location. Oh, it's wonderful. How wonderful is it to be able to sit here and do my little shows, right, knowing that the UK at the moment is covered in snow, and I'm sitting here in T-shirt and shorts, oh, and a new pair of sandals, okay? I purchased these new pair of sandals, right? Not only did I purchase these, talk about bargain of the week. Now, I bought these in Sydney the other day because looking around, doesn't seem to be many people wearing trainers or shoes. They're all wearing like sandals, sandal types affairs, you know, shoes with sort of no toes in them, that sort of thing. And I bought these at a bargain, $59, okay, which I suppose is about £28, right? Not only that, but if you buy one pair, you get another pair of something, of course the cheaper ones, half price. So I picked up another pair of sandals which were only $24, and I got them for about, what did I buy them? For $12, which is about £7 or £8. I mean, it's nothing, dear. Bargains to be had all over the place, lovey. I like it here very much. I really do. Just before I came on holiday, I had to call the plumber out. I don't know about you, but I like to turn the water off before I go away. Now, my nephew and his girlfriend were supposed to be looking after my house while I was away, but unfortunately, for whatever reason, they couldn't do it. It's all right, they haven't had a row. They haven't had a row. They just couldn't do it for whatever reason. So I wanted to turn the stopcock off, right? So I could turn all the water off while I'm away. I like to do that. It's always a bit of a worry, you know. If you get a leak and you're not in, I mean, it's bad enough being out of the house for one day while you're at work or one night, but if you're away for 3 weeks, a lot of damage can be done with that, isn't it? Eh? So I like to turn that off. Unfortunately, I could not get that stopcock to move, and I tried various things. First of all, with my hand, couldn't get it to move. I loosened this nut on the front, which I thought might be too tight. That didn't make any difference. I then got a spanner and attached it to the head of the tap. Tried to pull it around like that, and it just wasn't having it. And you don't want to, you know, pull it too hard, because if the thing comes off, well, you're going to be flooded with water, aren't you? So there was another couple of little jobs I wanted to be done as well. The main water tank in the ceiling, in the roof in my house, seems to drip leak whenever it's extremely cold. Okay, but only when it's cold, which kind of makes sense really, because the water expands, doesn't it? Water expands when it's cold. So if it's expanded when it's cold, then it probably goes up that little bit further and starts dripping out the pipe. Now, of course, the easiest way to sort that out is to flush the chain a couple of times, or turn the hot tap on, or the cold tap that's coming out of the tap. Bit hard to do that if you're not actually there. So I thought I'd have that fixed as well, and also a tap in my kitchen. I've got one of those mixer taps in the kitchen. When you turn it on, as well as the water coming out of the tap itself, it comes out of the little collar that's around the tap. So I thought, well, let's get a plumber out and he can do all things at the same time. So I rang this guy who I've used before actually on one of the flats that I own. He often fixes bits and pieces for me, and he came round. What's his name? Trevor, I think his name was Trevor. Very, very pleasant man. What time do you want me there? I said, can you do morning? He said, okay, I'll make you the first job. Now, at this time, it was extremely cold and snowy. However, he arrived on time around about 9:15 in the morning. And I also, while he was there, I got him to service the boiler as well, because you're supposed to have the boiler serviced every year, aren't you? So he done that, and he got to work on the water tap, on the stopcock. And just like me, he was completely unable to move this thing. He did attach a spanner to it, exactly the same as I did, but to no avail, I'm afraid. So then he looked at the front for the outside stop cock, which is usually sort of somewhere in the pavement or in the grass in front of you. Now, this whole area, of course, as luck would have it, was covered in snow, and he had a shovel out there. He was moving in the shovel, moving all the snow. I had a broom. I was brushing all the snow away from him. I like to give him a hand, you know what I mean? And we couldn't find it at all. So we went to my neighbour, couldn't find his, but the other two neighbours that are on the two houses down the end, their stopcock is like bang in the middle of their wall. They've like a little bit of grass, and then there's like a tarmacked area, and the stopcock is in the tarmacked area. So the first two houses we could find, but mine and my neighbours, of course, no sign of this thing anywhere. So we had a good look around for 20 minutes or so in the grass and moving the snow out of the way, nothing. So what I've had to do, unfortunately, is ring the water board, and apparently they will come round and locate it with some sort of listening device, or I don't know, some sort of metal detector type thing. And they will, while I'm away, they will paint on the ground in blue paint where this thing is. So hopefully by the time I get back from holiday, it will all be obvious where it is. Now, because of that, of course, he was unable to fix the said tap, so the water is still on, but fingers crossed it won't, you know, go bang or anything like that and the place will be flooded with water. That also meant he couldn't fix the tap or the water cylinder up above. Now, he did go into the roof area and looked at not the water cylinder, the water tank. He looked at the water tank, and apparently the ball valve thing at the top is all rusted and it needs a new one of those. He said he can't really, he doesn't dare bend. There's some sort of rod at the end of this thing with a ball, like a plastic ball on the end. He said he doesn't want to bend it in case it snaps, and if it snaps then the water just keeps coming in. So he's been unable to do that as well. He needs to turn the water off to complete all those things, so we've just got to wait for the water board to come down and do that. I mean, there's always something, isn't there? Always something. Now, so that was the plumber story. Because my nephew and his girlfriend couldn't come down and look after the house, I've given them a spare set of keys to my neighbour, Dave, and his lovely lady, Karen, and they're kindly looking after my house. And more importantly than anything else, more importantly than the water or the house or anything, is feeding dear little pussy Katie. I mean, she did look happy. In fact, I've actually been here in Sydney for a few days now, and Dave has sent me a picture of Katie being fed by him. How kind is that? All right, such a wonderful neighbour. Got wonderful neighbours, absolutely wonderful neighbours. So I'm not worried about anything there. Anyway, that's the plumber story. Let me see. Yes, did I tell you about my new router that I've installed? I've gone out and bought a wireless router, a Netgear product. Now, a couple of weeks ago when Ronnie came, he asked me to put the wireless on, and I didn't have it. I didn't have wireless internet in my house. I just had everything is wired, and it goes into this router. But the wired router itself was giving me problems. When I was downloading video files and things like that, it would cut my connection. And the only way to restore the connection would be like to take the power lead out of the router, wait for 10 seconds or so, push it back in again, and then it would all work again, miraculously. Now, I was pretty convinced that it was the router, but I wasn't sure. Anyway, Ronnie came a couple of weeks ago, wanted to use wireless. I said I didn't have wireless. However, I do have a wireless router, which was actually provided by the internet company, right? But I've never used it. So I thought to myself, surely I could just plug that wireless router into my cabled router and it would work. And sure enough, it did. So I kind of had wireless for a while, but I still had the same problem. Downloading large files would cut me off for some reason. So last week, you'll die at this. I hope I haven't told you this story already. You will kill yourself laughing. I went to Currys.digital, not my favourite of shops. However, I will say the service has got better there over the last year or so. I don't know if they've all been retrained or something like that, but definitely the service has got better in that place. And I went to see a lady friend of mine in there she seems to have always worked there since I moved to Bracknell in 1992, when it was Dixon's then, of course. And she sold me this router, and on the box it had a picture of the router, and on the back of it were 4 Ethernet ports, right, where you could directly plug in wired computers, and it had the wireless itself as well, all within the one unit. Now, you're wondering probably, well, why did I want to change it when I already had the wireless the other wireless router and the router? Well, the point is, when you do it like that, if you're using a router and a wireless router plugged into that box, you can't transfer files easily from one computer to the other. It just doesn't work, right? So the whole idea of getting this all in one unit was that I'll be able to transfer files from one place to the other, and it all works fairly seamlessly, or it should do anyway. Also, I was hoping to cure the problem of being cut off whenever I was downloading large files. So I bought this router. It was on special offer, £69. It also came with a free, a free USB wireless receiver transmitter thing that you would plug in the back of any computers that you wanted to make wireless, which don't have a wireless card in them. Now, I actually don't need those, didn't need it really, because I intend to use the wired computers as they are, i.e. plugging them straight into the back of the new router. All right, so that's how I did that. Sorry about all the noise, that's coaches going around the roundabout. Possibly not the best place to sit and do a show. I'm certainly getting a lot of attention from people as they walk past. They keep looking over and wondering who I'm talking to. I mean, are they stupid, dear? I'm talking to you. Fortunately, I don't think they can hear me from here because of the traffic going round and round. When the traffic stops, though, it's lovely and peaceful. Listen. Isn't it? Lovely and peaceful. The sun's out, It's about 85 degrees today. It's very hot. I ought really to have my hat on. I do have a hat because on the first day here, my I'm not kidding. I really don't like wearing hats at all. Do you know I should wear it forward, or should I wear it like a rap artist, back to front, or does that make me look like a middle-aged man trying to look young? I think it quite suits me like this. I look quite hard with my baseball cap on back to front, don't you think? Like Jay-Z or someone like that. Anyway, back to the router story. All right, so where was I now? Let me think. Oh, I've lost the plot now. Oh, right, okay. So it's £69. So I bought this router from the woman, and indeed on the back was a picture of the router and the 4 sockets that it should have, and another socket where you plug the modem in, and all well and hunky-dory. I rushed home. You know what I'm like with a new piece of equipment, dear. I rushed home and I opened the box, and immediately I smelt it. You know, when you take that cling film off or whatever it is, that plastic wrapping off, and you open the box and you smell inside it, don't you? Oh, that lovely smell of new electronics, don't you? Come on, chaps. You know that smell I mean, don't you? Eh? You open anything like that, your new games console, take the plastic wrapping off, put your nose in there, open the box quickly and breathe in deeply. Oh yes, the smell of new electronics, beautiful. Anyway, so there I was up in the Mirable studio where I do my editing and all that, taking all the little bits and pieces out of the box, and I picked up the main box, this router, and I thought, right, let's put everything in position. So I plugged in the electricity, got the instructions out. Very important, really, to read instructions when it comes to installing new pieces of hardware for your computer, because on most occasions you're supposed to install, I think, the software before you actually plug anything into your computer. Very, very important to read those instructions, because if you plug your hardware in first before you install the software, quite often the thing won't work, and then you have to start ringing helplines and speaking to foreign countries where they haven't got a clue what they're doing. You know the sort of thing, don't you? Yeah, I thought so. All right, so that's that. And I've got this, I've opened this box, right? And I'm looking at this device, and I looked at the back of it, and I thought, well, there's the socket that you plug the modem into. Where do you plug the other computers? Turn this thing up on, you know, first of all, right way up, turned it on its side one way, turned it on its side the other way, turned it upside down, looked at the back, no holes. There was a little sticker on there, which I kind of ignored, didn't look at this, I saw this sticker on there. But I'm not interested in the sticker, I'm looking for these holes. No holes, and I thought, oh God. At that point, my phone rang, and guess who it was? It was my mate Ron, my best mate Ron. He says, all right. I says, no, I'm not. He said, well, what's up? What's up? He goes, what's up now? You know, like I'm one to complain all the time, which I'm not. No, I'm not. I don't complain all the time. I said, well, I've just bought something from Dixon's, and what's in the box is not what it says on the box. He said, well, you know what you're going to have to do, don't you? Oh, it's a bit windy now. You know what you're going to have to do, don't you? I said, yes, I do know. Take it back. The last thing you want to do. And don't you hate that? Don't you absolutely hate that when you buy something and it's not right and you have to go back to the shop? And I think, I'm going to have all this hassle now of going back to the shop. When Curry's Digital was Dixon's, for them to change something was a blooming, they were absolute pains. They'd start looking at it, and on occasions they say, well, it's got to go back to the head office for testing and all that. I thought, I hope not going to have to go through all this rigmarole, because I'm going to end up standing in the middle of the shop and shouting. Right? Anyway, he says, well, go on, off you go then. He said, ring me when you get back. Okay. So I then unplugged the system, right, from the mains. Although I didn't have the power switched on, I'd plugged in all the wiring, but I hadn't switched it on. You see what I mean? packed this thing away. Fortunately, the receipt was still there. I'm very good at losing receipts within minutes of me leaving the shop. Come on, girls, where do these receipts go? Have you ever wondered that? Receipts, they just disappear, don't they? They completely disappear. Anyway, I found the receipt, got back in the car, and off I went back to Dixon's, or Currys.digital. Got to the shop, right? And went to the boy that served me. Nice lad. I said, excuse me, mate. I said, I just bought this about an hour ago. What's in the box doesn't appear to be what's on the box. He said, oh, okay, let's have a look. So he's opened this thing, and he's taken a look at it, and he's looked at the box. He said, okay, mate, what is it you think is different? I said, well, on the box it says like there's 4 sockets, so I can plug in my hardwired computers. I said, but if you look on there, there's no sockets. Oh, he says, well, you see this label there, which says, please remove this label. And I'm like, oh no. He said, watch. And he picked up the label, right? And underneath that label were 4 sockets. At that point, I just wanted to die. I really did. I hope I haven't told you this story already. My mind's all over the place. I've got jet lag and all that, right? And I said, okay. I said, put it back in the box quietly and I shall leave silently. And he looks at me, he says, it's okay, sir, you haven't been in here. Have you ever been so embarrassed in all your life? So with that, I took it all home and set it up again. I was saying to him, do you ever have other things like this? People coming back with remarks like that. He says, oh yes, all the time. He says, one bloke bought an entire computer system back, not a laptop, a big computer system back with speakers and everything. And he says, his bloke says to him, what's wrong? He said, well, every time I hit the keyboard button that says ALT, it doesn't switch on. Well, you don't actually switch it on like that. You have to switch the button on the box, don't you? And someone else bought back an alarm clock because it was too loud. So I suppose they get them in that shop all the time. I wonder if I was the topic of conversation at their tea time that particular day. Possibly. Have you ever done anything stupid like that? Have you ever taken something back to a shop only to find out that there was actually nothing wrong with it and it was you who was making the mistake? I bet you have, haven't you? Let me know on the email. My email address is chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. I had a couple of emails in while I've been away, both on the subject of my recorded shows and live shows, and I have been considering giving up one of these recorded shows, so there'd only be 2 a week, and doing an extra live show each week. Now, the emails that are coming in at the moment all request that we keep all the recorded shows in preference to doing another live show. And I think it was Tom Harris, who wrote in and said, the thing is with the recorded shows, people have time, number one, to watch or listen to them, because you can pick and choose whenever you listen to this. You know, you don't have to be sat in front of the computer on a Monday night at 6 o'clock UK time to watch or listen to this show. You pick and choose whenever you want. Also, you have time to react. You know, people might want to think about something I've said and then write that email. You see what I mean? With a live show, you haven't got time to do that. If you either call in or send a quick email. But often, very often on this show, lovely people like Suko, Susan, Gloria, Lisa, Tom, so many people kindly write in, and sometimes these emails are a couple of pages long. Now, on the live show, of course, you wouldn't have time to do that, would you? You know, it's kind of instant, a little bit like McDonald's. So perhaps This recorded show is like a Sunday roast, is it? Having roast beef, veg, potatoes, and it all takes a couple of hours to cook, doesn't it? You can go away after watching this show and think, oh, I'll write an email about something, but I'll do it later. There's no rush. Whereas the live show, which I enjoy doing very much, is very instant. You pick up the phone and you ring in, or you use your Skype, and you can actually talk to me, but it is instant. Once the hour is over, that's it. You know, the show is finished, door closed. So I do see what you're saying there, Tom, and others, about the fact of wanting to keep the 3 recorded shows. So I think we'll probably do that. All right, let's have a look there. Well, I've been chatting away. What's been going on at home. I haven't even got onto the subject of me flying here yet or anything like that. By the way, do you remember me going to try and see St. Trinian's? Well, I'm afraid it was a failed effort. Yeah, it definitely was. The first time I went to try and see St. Trinian's, I was going to be with Ronnie. We were going to go to the cinema, but on that particular day, it had been snowing, and I was a bit worried about getting home. Not that particular night, and I was actually right, because by the time I got home, you know, another hour would have made all the difference. The snow was everywhere. I'm going back here till, I think, around about the 7th of January here. So that time I failed. The second time, which I told you about on, I think, the last show, was when I went to the cinema, and we were all sitting there when we waited and waited and waited. No film came on. Went out to the front desk. Why hasn't someone started the film yet? Came back in, manager came in, told us all there had been an administrative error and the film wasn't on in the afternoon, it's on at night. So we all got our money back and free tickets, right? I did try once more. We did try once more. And just before I came away on holiday, I went down to see Ronnie again. He wanted to see it, got there, and guess what? The film is no longer on at the cinema. So I'm very, very disappointed that I failed to go and see the second St. Trinian's film. I think, I can't remember the title of it, because the first one was very funny. So now I guess I'll have to just wait for it to come out on DVD. And when it does come out on DVD, I'll be able to play it, and play it, hopefully, on my brand new television. I've got a lovely 50-inch plasma television. Now, as I'm sitting here talking to you, it won't have got there yet. But by the time you watch this, hopefully it will have got to my house. A lovely 50-inch plasma telly, Panasonic job. It's going to be fixed on the wall, probably fixed on the wall and all that. I haven't decided yet, or I might just put it on my little cabinet at the bottom, because I've had to move the room around to accommodate this when it comes on the just after my birthday, the day after my birthday. Yeah, so looking forward to that, and I shall put the St. Trinian's film on then. All right, how are we doing for time? We've only got about a minute left. Oh dear, dear me. Well, what shall I do? Should I start talking about the holiday now or not? Would you like a minute, or shall we wait for the next show? I don't know, really. I don't know. I'm going to have a little bit more of a walk around now. The actual Sydney Opera House is just over there to my left, and I'm going to try on the next show, or perhaps maybe not the next show, but in a few shows' time, to do a show having the Sydney Opera House in the background. I'm in Sydney at the moment. I'm flying to Norfolk Island tomorrow, which is where my cousin runs the police force, hoping to have a bit of a chat with him, and we'll do a show from Norfolk Island. I'm going to Brisbane to see a very good friend of mine who used to work in Belushi's with his girlfriend, and they've both moved over here. Then I'm going to Canberra, which is the capital of Australia, seeing my aunt and uncle in a religious place there, and hoping to do a bit of filming there. And then back to Sydney for a few days and back home. So a busy old itinerary, and time for me to go. Thanks very, very much for joining me for United Kingdom Talk today. Don't forget that email address once again, chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. See you on the next show. Bye-bye now.